Yes. Yes. You're live. Zoom. Yes. No. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lyons. I'm one of the vice presidents of SRI. SRI stands for Space Renaissance International. And by my side is Adriano Tino. He is also one of the vice presidents and the founder of SRI. And we are connected now with Alison and with Jane. Yeah.
Hi from the UK. Great joining you. Thank you very much for having us.
Yes, and they artists.
Yeah, they are running an educational entity, SSEF.
Yeah, maybe around 2%.
Yeah, so Jenny and Alison are running an educational entity in the UK. And I think they will present very much better than me. They are working what they do. And we are here now today at the International Astronautical Congress 2024 in Milano. And we are broadcasting from our booth. It is the booth of SRI, Space Renaissance International, and of the Coalition for Space 18 SDG. We have an 18 SDG focused on space to the UN 2030 agenda. So this is our book. It's our first broadcasting from the book. And I want to invite kindly Jenny and Alisa to introduce their activity. They are, by the way, they are one of the sponsors that made this book possible. So we are very, very grateful to them. And we are eager to listen to your presentation. Okay? So let's go. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So Alison and I both work for a British charity called the Space Science and Engineering Foundation, and we are lucky enough to be able to send students to a big international competition held at the Kennedy Space Center in NASA every year. And we do this by running an engineering industry simulation, and we get the children to pretend they're sort of 40, 50 years in the future, and they work out a space settlement. Do you want to talk a little more about that, Alison?
Yes, so the clever thing about the industry simulation is that we put students, young people, into companies that are so large and give them a task that is so big, so challenging, that they must collaborate with each other in the way that workers in industry collaborate. So unlike school, where they're assessed as an individual, in industry, of course, your entire company is producing a single output together. So that's what makes it an industry simulation, not just a design exercise. And their design is an entire space settlement. So the task is huge. What our average size of group would be anything from 30 to 60.
Yeah, we worked with 110 children this weekend. We work with 250 working in 4 companies. So they work in very large groups.
It is that scale of the scale of the task and the size of the collaborative effort means that, you know, if you only had if you have 30 students in a company working for 4 hours, then you already have 120 hours of work. You know, 30 students in 4 hours producing 120 hours of work to put into their presentation of their settlement. If they work for 8 hours, you just do the maths. the power of collaboration is what makes the industry simulations so powerful. It's so impressive to the students. It has enormous wow factor.
Before we go on, I just want to say a huge thank you, Adriano, to you and the team for getting everything together there in Italy. You've done a fantastic job. And Alison and I were very impressed. We're having a work afternoon here in London, but we were very impressed that during your setup, you were doing all the talk in English, even in a stressful situation. So your English is very impressive. So thank you very, very much. We're interested in joining it.
Too kind indeed. My English is a plain English, is an Italian English, let me say. So, okay, thank you. However, thank you very much.
So we're in talks with a school in Italy. We have always had an Italian student, at least one go in our EU team of 12. So we're in talks at the moment with a school in Italy to continue running our competition there. But we would like more schools to be interested in joining in, so that all the students across Italy have a chance of going to our NASA competition. Our interest in the SDGs is obviously that, you know, we work with young people and we want them to think about the future of space. And, you know, we work very much creatively in the future with our competitions. And we want to ensure that it's a great future going forward.
So one of the aspects for the idea of the 18th SDG is that it brings together all of the other SDGs, right? The space industry is a meeting point for these things. Our activity, which we would love to have spread in Italy and everywhere, really, our activity is about young people designing human settlements. And one of the reasons that it works is because all of us live in a human settlement on a planet in the solar system. We just happen to live on planet Earth, and instead of calling it a settlement, we call it a town or a city, or, you know, everyone lives near a town or a city, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, or lives in a town or a city. So the students arrive at a space settlement design day already very familiar with the practical reality of the other SDGs, because they live in cities that are either working or not working well. They know if the water system is reliable and clean and you can just drink water from a tap, or whether you have to boil your water to stay safe. They actually already have a lot of knowledge about how settlements work and what makes them safe, what makes them sustainable, what makes a good development. When we ask them to design for space, they cannot assume that there is air, they cannot assume there is water, they cannot even assume that there is gravity for their settlement. So it forces the space settlement design challenge, the competition, forces young people to think about, what do we have on Earth? If we went to Mars or the Moon or Mercury, what would be different? And that really makes them think about their sustainable development on Earth, because they're trying to replicate it for another planet. Set in the future, what technology would you take? What's too risky? What is safe? The whole thinking, the space industry, we're a very nice example that when you start thinking of an 18th SDG, when you start thinking about the space industry, it forces you to look at planet Earth through fresh eyes. And that's what makes the students able to cope with such a demanding task as designing a settlement for Mars. They understand settlements on Earth because they live in them. So it's a very powerful thing. And I think we're a very good example of the 18th SDG, where we provide a microcosm of the 18th SDG in our space design competition. activity.
Thank you much. So, in your presentation, if you want to show us something else, some slides or something like that. I have seen that before you were sharing something. Maybe you want to share it again and tell us what they are. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we're just sharing some slides that lets everyone see what we're talking about this microcosm. These are a sample of the technical briefing that would be given to school students to help them to understand their mission at a space settlement design competition. Some of the badging might be for a sister group, but we'll take you through some of the slides. So do you want to?
Okay.
So.
Okay, so there are schools that have done our competition for years and years, and there are other schools that will be brand new, and we mix them all together and try and make it fair. So we put them all in departments, and we have 5 departments, 4 engineering and 1 business department, and generally the students can have a choice in this, but when the work becomes critical at the end, then they'll all have to just jump in and help where they can. So as Alison said, you know, we put them in big departments and or big companies, and what they are doing is they're spending an 8-hour day designing with people they don't know a space settlement that answers a kind of traditional industry request for proposal. So it's quite a long list of requests, and they have to answer them. You might be best on structural because you worked at Imperial for 30 years in the structural department.
Yeah. So one of the things we have to make the students understand is that all the different disciplines for when you're designing a settlement, all different disciplines must work together. So we start by giving them something they're very familiar with. They're sitting inside a building, they're inside a structure, and we get them to think about what's the role of the structures department in their student company that is designing a space settlement. So we give them this type of information to remind them of things they actually know. They know they are sitting inside a building, but they don't stop and think engineers made the building. Someone designed the building. Someone designed how the electricity will get to you so that you can run your computer at the desk in the classroom or in the university. So the activity that we do is about getting them to recognize what they are already familiar with from their own world. And these slides that we're showing are examples of the topics that we're getting them to think about. So the structures department, a major thing in their design is not just what will be made, but how it will be made and what are the stages of building your space settlement. They have to come up with the exterior design concept, but they also have to define how much internal space there is, the internal volumes. It is amazing how much variation you get from students when they are designing for other people. Some students get very minimalist. We will have everyone live in the same room, almost as if it's a prison dormitory, and others are going for a 5-star hotel luxury. But the people from the structures department tend to want the most efficient use of space, and they have to decide about the materials. We might stipulate as the client that we want materials to be locally sourced on the planet they're on as much as possible. That means you have to have a mining industry on that planet to be able to extract the materials to make a local concrete or a local metal. So we have to talk them through the idea that designing anything is ultimately a series of choices. So they tend to see it as initially as it's about drawing pictures. But when you're collaborating, you have to choose out of all of the different choices, which decision you will have. And so then we give them some guidance on how to approach that. And so look at examples, adapt the examples, and then try to make it local to the place that you're in. These are exactly the SDG principles for an Earth settlement, but it becomes much more complicated when you take it to Mars.
Thanks, Vivian.
So, then we have the various different departments. So we could go through all of this presentation to illustrate the different things that get thought about, but we just wanted to give a flavour of the idea that the 18th SDG really is encapsulated. All of the other 17 SDGs are together in this type of activity. This activity is a microcosm of space industry thinking. So should we keep going, or is it, what would you like?
Adriana say. I'm not sure how long we've got to talk, Adriana.
No, okay, we are at the end of our scheduled time. So we want to thank you very much for this presentation. I remember that it will remain on YouTube, however, so you will have the link and you can express it to your students and your audience, and we got this testifying of your work that may remain in our catalog of our videos. And I know that you proposed that any student will come here to talk with us. We're waiting for him. So when he wants to come, we are ready to welcome it and to hold a half-an-hour conversation as we made today. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Thank you.
for joining us today and for being part of the debaters for our booth. Nice cooperation. And yeah, thank you.
okay. So, thank you very much. Next time. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah.
Let
Okay.
us-
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Is it?
See what I'm doing afterwards.
Okay. So we made it. Yeah.